moved and inspired by Freshta's story, and we hope you will be too.
Chapter 1. Change. I was born in Herat, known as the poetic and artistic center of Afghanistan. In Herat, there are many historical buildings, and there are even artifacts that Alexander the Great left in the country around 300 BC. My family and I lived in a house surrounded by tall walls. Most of the families we knew in Herat lived behind walls like this, which were supposed to protect the women of the family and keep neighbors out of your business. We had a big garden in our yard. We would all go out and dig up the soil and plant a whole variety of vegetables and fruits like white and green onions, turnips, carrots, cucumbers, zucchini, and tomatoes. We also kept goats and sheep. As a toddler, I would sometimes ride the goats around the yard. I was so small they looked like horses to me. We also had a dog, Gorgi, that I loved with all my heart. At night, I loved looking up at the stars in the yard. When I was 4 years old, I was outside one night looking at some of the most beautiful stars I'd ever seen. Suddenly, I saw my family running. My aunts and uncles were taking things from the yard and rushing into our house and down to the basement. My sister took me into the house. She said, "Don't move, stay here." And I asked why, but she wouldn't answer me. The stars looked so beautiful that night, and I couldn't get enough of them. I kept going back outside, and she kept taking me back inside and telling me not to move. I wouldn't listen to her. When I went out again, she finally took me into the house and slapped me. She slapped me so hard, I can feel the burn to this day. She told me that those weren't stars in the sky, but bullets and rockets flying over our house. The Taliban had come. They were attacking Herat. My house was the only one in our extended family that had a basement. It was a small basement, but it provided enough protection for our relatives. After that, whenever any type of attack would happen, everybody would go to our basement immediately. 20 of us would huddle together, and because our bathroom was in the backyard, we had to run outside to a spot near the basement, relieve ourselves, then run back inside. Not too long after the first attack, my mom woke me up early one morning. It was still dark outside. She told me that we were moving, that we had to leave, and I started crying because I was so attached to the house and to our dog. Traveling with Gorgi would have made us a target for the Taliban, who see dogs as threatening. We packed up everything in the house and we left Gorgi there. It was very hard for me. The Taliban is a terrorist group, and they were becoming very active in the rural region where I lived. Most of my family left with my dad, and they loaded trucks with our belongings and headed to Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, where it would be safer. My mom and I were the last ones to leave our house in Herat. I remember hugging Gorgi so long. She didn't know we were leaving for good. We had to take a very crowded van to get to Kabul. In Afghanistan, there are vans that drive around the country from province to province, like buses in the United States. The vans in Afghanistan often have to pass through zones controlled by the Taliban. No one could predict what the Taliban would do when a van would pass through a territory they controlled. Sometimes they would stop the van. Sometimes they would rob the passengers. Sometimes they would do far worse. We got on the van headed to Kabul, traveling with one of our family friends, a man, for safety. My mom was wearing her burqa. The van rumbled through bumpy landscapes of valleys and isolated hills. I was so tired I fell asleep to the hum of the engine. But then it stopped. I woke up to find the van surrounded by Taliban soldiers. "Stay close," my mom said. "Stay under my burqa." She was very scared. The Taliban soldiers ordered everyone off the van. They began searching all of us. I didn't know what they were looking for.